Welcome to The Other Dimension with the team, Damon Penny, Ben Winfield, and Louisa Brown. We guide you through the supernatural, the occult, and the unexplained, answering questions that will make you question your grip of reality, with special guests guiding you through everything from demons to divination, cryptids to crystals, religion to skeptics. We explore in depth the true meaning of the unexplained. So strap in, kick back, and enjoy as we enter the other dimension.
Good evening, everybody, and it's your Friday Night Paranormal Fix. It's the other dimension, and we're live. As always, myself, Damon Penny, joined alongside the paranormal power couple, Winfields in the building, and special guest tonight, paranormal investigator and medium, Barry John. Go crazy.
I thought you were going to say stupid. Good evening. How are we all?
All good. All good. How are you?
I'm very good. Yeah, very good. Been running around a little bit just lately. And if you've seen, I've just come back from Rome, which Ben knows I'm Rome at the moment.
It's a beautiful, beautiful city. You end up falling in love with the city. Absolutely falling in love with it.
I've had to watch a lot of films since we've been back, though, Ben. I've had to watch Gladiator. I've had to watch Angels and Demons.
Nearly died. Oh, yeah, no, I mean, how the other half live, eh? I've never been to Rome. It's somewhere I've always wanted to go, but I've never been to Rome.
Yeah. Honestly, I never realised how much I'd like it until I went.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just something with the city. You just fall in love with the city.
Everywhere.
Yeah, first place to.
People always said to me before I went, every corner you turn, there's something, and you don't realise it. You know, you just think, oh, yeah, they're saying that, but it is really true.
Definitely. Right, roll call in the chat room. Big shouts out to Natasha, out to Sarah, welcome along, out to Difficult Question Kate is in there. Big shouts out to Amanda, out to Annette, out to Dave, out to Nico, Jeanette, out to Emmy Rooney. There's a lot in tonight. Guys, if you do have questions for Barry, all you have to do is just stick it out there in chat and we will get to them as we go along. You know how we do it here. It's always been that way. So, Barry, for everyone who doesn't know you, who's been living under a rock for the last God knows how many years, can you just explain to them who you are, what you do, and the sort of things you do within the paranormal?
Oh, God, here we go.
Get this out of the way quick.
Yeah, I'm going to do this really quick because it's a classic story, isn't it? But, you know, for me, the paranormal's always been a major fascination ever since being a child, you know. And, I mean, I come from a long line of physical mediums. You know, my mum was a medium, my grandmother was a medium. And really, it was the whole fascination of it, of going, you know what, there's more to life here. And that's the one thing I've always ever wanted to do for people, is prove that there's more to life. But, you know, the thing that really got me into it was the family stories, you know, when they used to talk about table levitation and table moving and apporting objects. Yeah. And I used to think, nah, that's all rubbish. I've never known that before. You know, how's that going to work? And then lo and behold, when you get into it, you go mental with it. You know, the only way I can ever describe it to people, you almost get a greed because you want more all the time, you know. And I remember the good old days of the paranormal where, you know, when we were kids, we used to go into old mill buildings, and you guys will know some of them very close to us in terms of Plesley Mills. Yeah. And we used to go in there because they were derelict. You know, you just used to open the door, walk in, and you could do anything you wanted, you know, and nobody bothered you. Yeah, you might get told off by a security guard, but you'd wait until he'd gone and then you'd carry on again. You know, and it always fascinates me now when I see all these signs in buildings where they go, all Ouija boards are banned. No Ouija boards are to be used in a council building. And I think, you know, what's gone off over years. But yeah, so to cut a long story short, been doing the paranormal now for, God, I'm going to show my age now, aren't I? Probably over, well, more than 20 years, really. Probably about 25 to 30 years.
Wow.
In terms of mediumship, again, started ever since being a child, really got into it very heavily around sort of my mid-teens where, you know, I wanted to start investigating things with mediumship a little bit. And it's weird because, you know, yeah, people will poo-poo mediumship, you know, and they go, oh, what a load of rubbish, what a load of rubbish. But, you know, I think it's one of them. I always say, you know, if you believe, you believe. If you don't, you don't. Simple as. You know, but the way that I look at it, you know, I've traveled the world with it. It's moved me around to places, the UK, Middle East, America, you name it, you know, all places. And I've thoroughly loved it. I really have. And, you know, the best thing about it, meeting people. That's what I like. Even Scooby-Doo. Met him in Florida. All right. All right. But, you know, it's great, isn't it? Because, you know, there's a couple of things, sorry, I do talk, but there's a couple of things, you know, going back to childhood that I used to love. And I used to love things about the Egyptians and Titanic and all these sort of things as a child. And it just got me overexcited, really. And that's why I followed my path.
Brilliant.
Brilliant.
What do you add to that? I mean,
in a nutshell.
I'm going to do my bit because we know what I'm like with mediums when it comes to
go on then.
What they call platform mediums.
Yeah.
We ended up meeting Barry at one of your events, didn't we?
You did, yes.
He was doing a platform medium, and you know,
Like the whole thing.
talking that lot,
Yeah.
and then you did the bit after, and we know what I'm like. If I smell a medium that is putting out a certain aroma, I will shout it out. I'm not going to lie, Barry. We thought, might be one. I have to admit, I was pleasantly surprised when he turned around in the middle of it and someone was saying stuff and he went, no, it has to fit.
Yeah.
He does not lie at all. He's brilliant at what he does. He's genuine, which is a rarity, let's face it, in the medium sort of world.
Not what a lot of people say about me, but that's all right. But
I speak the truth. He was straight
right. You know, I mean, I will never ever make a message fit somebody, you know. And if I think, I did a show the other week at Utoxeter, and I remember there was this lady sat right at the back, and I kept going to her, and she kept going, no, kept going back to her, and in the end, I said, I can't leave you. And you know what? She come up to me at the end and she says, I couldn't acknowledge you because she says, I was so upset. You bought my husband and he died last week. And she says, I was, you know, when people are shocked, it was almost, she come up to me in tears and I could tell, thinking, God, I've upset her. And she said it was and her son was with her, and even her son apologized and said, we just didn't know what to react because we can't believe how quick that's happened.
Crazy. It does answer the age-old question of, like, you know, do spirits pass over instantly, or do they hang about for a little while stuck in limbo and then they pass over? I mean, spirits have no concept of time, so it's sort of like they can see date, obviously, but they don't see time as we do as relevant because it's not relevant to them because they don't have an expiry date like we have. So it does answer that question. But it's cool what you said about your story about when you was younger, because 9 times out of 10, most of the mediums we have on the show sort of follow the same path and the same story. It's, I had an experience when I was younger. It intrigued me. I started looking into it and just researching. You know, with you, it wasn't so much having an experience. It was family experiences and family stories. But I always see the way it works.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, my first experience, I have to be very honest. I mean, I was probably I was young, put it that way. And that's a lot of years ago, probably about 7, something like that, you know, a young kid. And I remember being on the old telephone. You young guys won't understand what telephones are, but we used to have a telephone at home, you know, not a mobile, a telephone. One of those corded jobs, you know, where you had to have it on a handset. Absolutely. You see, you're as old as me, so you know. We had one on the staircase, you know, and I remember being on this phone one day, and I can't remember who I was on to, and I felt a hand literally come over and put a hand on my shoulder, and I thought it was my mum. And I tell you what, I turned around so quick, and I just dropped the phone and thought, what the is that behind me? And I ran, and that was my first experience of something happening to me. It really was. But yeah,
TV on my camera, it keeps moving.
Yeah, it's not me, I promise. But you know, it's interesting. I just want to jump back to something that Ben said there, because you know, I think it's so wrong to try and make a message fit somebody. And, you know, I hate message grabbers at events. And I always tell them, you know, if I think somebody's a message grabber, I'll go, hang on a minute, you know, there's not only you in this room that's lost everybody in your life. You know, and yeah, we can all take something from a message, you know, we could all take something. But there's certain things that you have to come out with that one person will know something about it. Okay, whatever that is, you know, and I've had weird experiences where I've said things to people and they've gone, no, I don't understand that. And then they've emailed me the next day and gone, I spoke to my mum and you know what, we totally understand what you're on about now. You know, we've found that link, we've found that name, we've found where we wanted to be with it. And I think that's what makes a difference. But, you know, a little bit like some of the TV shows nowadays, when you're doing a demonstration, you're performing, you know, it's a different field what you work in. It really is. And I would sooner read somebody on a private one-to-one than read somebody in a demonstration because you can't be open about it at all.
Yeah, no, I agree. Right. The chat room is stacking up with questions, right? So start from the top and work our way through, right? And Kate is always the best at asking questions. She's phenomenal. So she said, right, question number 1. How do the spirits come through? How do you see or hear them? Could you describe it to us? I'm really intrigued.
Oh, God, what a great question. I've not been Do you know, that's really good because what I always say is, first of all, every spirit will work differently with you, okay? Some spirits I'll just know, I'll just feel, I'll just sense. Some will come through and communicate with a voice or vocally. Some I might see. But a lot of that's down to me, I have to also say, because I think we all develop what's called lazy mediumship at times. And it's very easy just to go, oh, I'm just getting a voice. But yet, if you ask them, they will give you something else and they'll go, right, hang on a minute. What do I look like? Right, I'll tell you what I look like. Okay. And I do a great little exercise on retreats, etc., or workshop demonstrations with people where I get them to pretend to be the spirit in the spirit world. And how will you communicate with the person in front of you? Because, you know, there's certain things that you and I know about our family members, whatever that is, whether somebody walks with a limp, whether somebody's got a lisp, whether they had a stroke, whether they had, I don't know, an arch back or whatever, you know, all these sort of situations that only we would know. And I think that's the sort of thing that I would look at when I answer that question there, by the way. I'd want the individual to come through and give me something specific about them. You know, how were you? You know, how did you pass? What sort of, you know, silly, you know, it's going to sound really bizarre, but you see, when I work with the spirit world, I imagine it a bit like an old-fashioned sort of Mills and Boon book, okay? And I open the cover. Yeah, I know I'm showing my age, aren't I? I open the cover and I look inside and I go, right, now tell me something about you. You know, what sort of things did you enjoy? You know, did you, if it's a woman, you know, what did you enjoy? If it's a man, you know, what did you enjoy? What do your hands look like? What's your facial features like? And the problem is, as mediums, and this is one of the problems nowadays, and we saw this through COVID lockdown, where it was so easy for everybody to jump on board and suddenly do mediumship or card readings or whatever, especially on Facebook. Yeah. And I think for me, that was really disappointing because we lost the true essence of mediumship. It's not about pulling a card. I could pull you a card from those pack there and just go, oh, yeah, you know, you're having a bad day. But that's nothing to do with mediumship. That's not reading you at all. That's basically going with my gut feeling. Whereas, you know, people seem to very much prey on the vulnerable during those periods. And they really did, because everybody was very lonely. They were very, just wanted some attention in a strange way. Okay. And I think that was a bad situation. But you know, again, to jump back to that question, I suppose it depends on the spirit world. And something I'm going to jump on, and which one of you guys mentioned, it might have been you, Damon, actually. You know, I get really annoyed with mediums when they say two things to me. People that's had suicides don't go to the same place and they don't come back through. And also, when spirit cross over, they have to have a healing phase or they have to go through a curing phase. Now, I'm sorry, you know, if I was ill in whatever circumstance and, you know, spirit had said to me, well, you can cross over, but you're still going to suffer for a few months. I go, I'll stay here. I'll stay here. Crossing over, because I have a belief pattern that when you cross to the spirit world, there isn't anything physical about you anymore. You're just a, whatever you call it, a ball of light that sits in this hand. That's all you are. So if you've had a problem with, I don't know, lost the use of your legs, okay, I'll say, how can you? Because you haven't got any legs anymore.
No.
Right? And I think this is where I get really annoyed with people on those two things. The hardest one for me, and I've had this numerous times, people coming up to me and going, oh, my partner, my friend won't come through. And I've said, well, why? Oh, well, they committed suicide. Utter rubbish. Absolute rubbish, okay? We all go to the same place. We all come through as and when we want to. Some of us are a little bit bolshy than others. Some of us do a lot more talking than others, unfortunately. You know, and I think, you know, you've just got to picture what the spirit world's like. You know, whatever you call it. Some people call it the spirit world. Some people might, depending on your religion, might call it heaven. I don't know, okay? But for me, it's a place where we all go to. And I think we all come back as and when we want to. And my own personal experience, you know, I lost my mum 20 years ago, actually, in April, 11th of April this year. And within about an hour of her passing, she'd already come back to see me to say I'm all right.
That's brilliant. That's amazing. I mean, I don't know if you answered this question, but it's sort of like you touched on it. Sarah wants to know, where do they pass over? Is it the Christian heaven or another dimension, do you believe?
Oh, now you see, this is great because people assume that I'm religious and I'm not. Okay, I am not religious at all. My mum was Roman Catholic. My dad was Church of England. You know, we were all brought up to our own sort of belief patterns in a way. So I just accept that no matter what your religion is, and this has been proven to me. I mean, remember, I've read for people of every sort of origin of life, if we can call it that, you know, every sort of background from, you know, people in the Middle East, you know, Arabs, Indian, etc. And for me, there's people still go to the same place. Okay, whatever your belief is, they still go to the same place. And it's that classic story again, where, you know, do spirits cross water? Well, yeah, they certainly do. Because why is it that I can do readings here for somebody in America and I can do it over the telephone? Okay, we're not stranded in a dimension where it goes, oh, can't cross over that border. You've got to dial the right number to get over. And the other thing is that I want to add on to that is spirit, when I work with them, and remembering, you know, I've worked a lot around Europe. Spirit, when I work with them, will talk in my native language. So they will talk to me in English and they'll go, well, yeah, but they didn't know English. Yeah, but remember, we're not talking of a person anymore. We're talking of what I'm going to refer to as a ball of light, okay? And that ball of light knows that I can't understand their language. So they're going to go, well, what way can we talk to him? And, you know, it really frustrates me in a way because a lot of the places that I used to do in Europe, I had to have a translator to translate the message. And very often they would translate the message for me and somebody would come up afterwards and go, that weren't what you said. And I used to go, well, I don't know, do I? Because I'm trusting that person to relay what I'm giving to this person, okay?
Yeah.
And it's really difficult. And also, when you've got somebody translating, it slows you down. It slows my link down because you've got to remember, I'm giving a sentence, then I'm giving it to somebody else to translate, then I'm giving a sentence, then you've got translation. And suddenly what's almost like a 10-minute message for me has turned into an hour because I have to wait for him to go through this process. But you know, jumping back to that question, I think for me, I'm going to take one word out of that and I want to take Christian out of it because I want to say, we all go to the same place, irrelevant of belief, faith, whatever. And remember, you know, I've given messages to people who have come to me afterwards and said, you know, my mum, dad never believed in any of this. You know, they never believed there was an afterlife. They believed that when the door closed, it closed and you were dead. Okay. But yet, you know, I've given messages where people go, Jesus, you know, that was my dad there. You know, I didn't think he'd come through like that. And again, I think that's all got to do with, it's irrelevant of beliefs and religion. It really is. We all go to a place where we all commune together. Let's call it that.
100%. I mean, me and Ben and Lewis talk about this before. It's a different name for the same place, whether you call it Valhalla or Elysium or heaven or paradise. They all describe the same place. It's where spirit go, once they pass, you know. And
well, one of the things I'm going to jump on there as well is, let me say this: I've never had any spirit come through and go, "My God, it's hot down here." You know, and I've never had that. So, you know, this is where I know me and Ben's had chats about, you know, the demonic side, which everybody's very hooked on at the moment because it's the thing to do. You know, but I think for me, if spirit had come back and said to me, "My God, you know what, it's hot down here," and they've got me shoveling coal into a bucket or whatever, I'd go, bloody hell, I'm not going down that way. I'm going up here, okay? And probably I'd change my ways, but I doubt that because it's a bit too late for that. But I think, you know, I think we just have to almost look at religion in a different way for me. You know, religion had two choices. You either went upstairs or you went downstairs, let's be honest. And that's every sort of belief, really. And the way that I look at it, and, you know, it's got me in some very hot water, this, I suppose, where if you're a good person, you go upstairs. Well, if you're a bad person, you go downstairs. All right. And I think this is almost something that's forced onto you, especially in terms of certain religions, where you're forced to go in one direction. Because if you don't, my God, you're going to get very hot all of a sudden and you're going to go downstairs. All right.
Yeah.
Waffled on. I'll show them.
No, you're good, mate. It's nice. We're nice laid back. Our fans that are watching are all laid back. We're all very laid back.
I don't know about laid back. The questions are steaming up.
Throw them in then. Throw another one in.
Jessica asks, strange question. Have you ever come across a kid reaching out to pass on a message?
Oh, now, does she mean there a child, as in a child medium? I think that's what she means. Does she mean?
A child spirit.
A child spirit?
Yeah, child on the other side reaching out.
Okay, right. Yeah. Right. Okay. Yeah, children will come back. And funnily enough, I did a reading for a lady Wednesday. Lost a daughter, very traumatic circumstance. You know, the lady got in touch with me and basically her daughter came through and telling her what had happened, etc., etc. And bearing in mind, I didn't know the full story. I really didn't, because unfortunately, there's things I don't want to know. Okay. But children will come back, you know, even in terms of if I do physical, sometimes I get a little boy comes back a lot of the time with me and he'll come and play around and he'll tap under tables and things, you know, and you can hear him like almost like fingernails tapping under tables. You know, and children are very active. You know, I have people who have been to me over years about their own children here, not children over the other side, children here. And they'll go, why is it that my child can describe my grandparents in the spirit world? They've never met them, never seen them. And suddenly they're coming out with things going, oh, grandma's with us, you know, grandma's here. And they're giving names and specifics, you know. It really gets me quite excited because I think, you know, mediumship has opened up a hell of a lot. And I think that's one of the things we've got to be grateful for about a lot of the sort of TV shows nowadays. You know, it really has opened up not just mediumship, but the paranormal for people as well. Where if we went back to, let's say we went back to the 1980s, I don't remember many shows about poltergeists and mediumship and, you know, programs such as like, you know, the famous ghost hunting programs. Okay. What I remember in the 80s, okay, please don't tell me you don't remember this, okay? I remember Doris Stokes in the 80s. Now, I remember we used to sit there watching Doris Stokes on TV and thinking, oh, my God, she's amazing. You know, look at her, you know, the way that she operates, the way that she is. You know, and that's the only person I ever remember from early childhood. It really is.
Crazy.
You know, but children will come back, by the way.
I think I'm a bit young to remember Doris Stokes. I wasn't born until 87, so...
I left school 2 years later.
Oh, God.
I think my earliest memory is rewatching, was it Ghost Watch? It was on TV once.
You know, honestly, I mean, we had nothing, honestly, absolutely nothing in the 80s. You know, I remember it, you know, very well. And this is when I was really quite into mediumship. You know, remember I used to dabble with tarot cards and Ouija boards when I was like 12 years of age. You know, the best one we ever did was at a friend's house where very naughtily we were antagonising a Ouija board very badly, and I've got to admit that. And all that happened was this glass shelf just literally shot out this cabinet, and I can't even explain it to you. It just went almost like horizontal and just crashed straight on the floor, and we all ran out of the house screaming. That was it. That was my first experience of a Ouija board.
Brilliant. I want to because this is quite relevant to what we talk about on the show, and I want to get your stance on this. Kate asks, what's your stance on paranormal activity being classed as extraterrestrial and not spiritual? Do you believe in aliens?
Do you know, lovely question, right? Lovely question. I'm gonna give one part of this straight away.
Yeah.
I am not ruling out anything else out there in this sort of area of space, because I think there's a lot of things that we don't understand. I really do. I think there's probably a lot of life forms that we don't understand.
Yeah.
But I'll go back to what I said a few minutes ago. I've not communicated with anybody who's told me it's very hot downstairs, and I've never communicated with somebody up from Mars. Okay, until that day when somebody communicates me from another planet source and basically says to me, you know, we're from Mercury, okay, and we want to pass a message on, and God knows how I'll do that because it's probably a different language. But, you know, until that day happens, I would have to say I can't go down that route because I don't know how they'd communicate. Now, do I think that aliens provide an element of paranormal activity? Well, I think there's a lot of things outside of our dimension. I think there's a lot of dimensions that probably run almost concurrent to ours,
yes,
where certain things continue happening in a different time frame almost. And how is it that, I mean, let's be honest, we don't know if what we're doing now is in the present or the past. Okay?
Yeah.
We don't know if this has already happened or whether it's happening in a strange way.
Yeah.
And I think this is things that we have to be open about, isn't it? And I'm very open about alien activity, you know, things like UFOs. I mean, trust me, there's a lot of people I wish could be picked up by a UFO. You know, I think there's a lot out there that we don't understand. And, you know, if somebody sends me a picture and says, you know, I've sat and had a cup of tea with an alien, I go, oh, wonderful. What did they talk to you about? Okay. But nobody's ever given me that proof, okay, and said, right, this is what they look like. All that we know they look like a lot of the time is what's in books, etc. You know, and I have a couple of issues that not attached to this, but almost linking in a strange way with certain shows nowadays, where you get some very strange sort of spirit paranormal activity. Now, I envisage spirit looking exactly like me and you when they come through. You know, they've got a head, they've got two arms, they've got two legs, etc. But when people start talking to me about, you know, imps or beasts or whatever, I almost think, well, what are you on about there? Is that your imagination that's taking over? Are you creating something in here that doesn't exist? And I remember doing an event with somebody many years ago, and he said to me, oh, look at all these spirits climbing all over the ceiling. And I felt like going, what the freaking hell are you on about? Okay. You know, and it was a little bit, it reminded me of like a movie scene in a way, okay, where, you know, you look up and suddenly there's something hanging from the ceiling. Now, again, I won't ever rule it out, but, you know, I think same as ghost hunting, and I'll always refer to it as ghost hunting. Sorry, guys, you know, that's the way I was brought up. You know, that's my Scooby-Doo days. But you know, I'll always refer to it as ghost hunting. You know, at the end of the day, we're there to experience something in whatever that is, you know. But have I ever experienced something that's been crawling along a ceiling? Not really, no. Okay. I envisage spirit having a conversation with me like we are now. And I remember working with I'll call it a medium many years ago. And every building we went in had a demonic monk, which I thought was quite ironic, really, because I thought, I'm not quite sure how that would exist. Okay? Because if you were a religious person and you were into that side, you wouldn't be a religious person, okay? But it was also funny how every demonic monk lived in a dark cellar.
Yeah, it is that atypical sort of, let's create some hysteria, let's create some paranoia to get people feeling things that are not there.
It is. And I mean, it's like America, isn't it? I love it, but why is it America have got portals from hell, bearing in mind the country is not that old?
Yeah.
So I always envisage, why is it that America has suddenly got all these portals from hell that seem to have existed under buildings where you go through a door and suddenly it opens up into a portal? And I think, but your country is not that old.
Yeah, we spoke about that before.
We have
Ben's random fact for this week as well.
Okay.
Just completely because we know what I'm like with dropping random facts.
Got it.
So technically, you've all seen an alien.
And explain yourself, because I don't like the carrot on the stick stuff.
This is explained. So everyone that's ever been, and we even eat alien. That's even more interesting. Eh?
Oh, I know what you're going to go with.
Anyone that's ever been to an aquarium that's seen an octopus or eaten an octopus, they are actually classified as an alien life form on this planet due to the fact that their DNA mapping doesn't match anything on this planet.
How interesting. I never knew that.
There's that. And the other thing, ironically, is cannabis. The DNA mapping of cannabis doesn't match anything on this planet. So technically, we've all seen an alien.
And the fact that octopuses randomly punch your head's got nothing to do with it.
Ben's random fact for the week.
I'm gonna sleep a lot better tonight knowing that.
Kate here, she said, I asked you this one on Paranormal History when you went live. Do you still stand by the belief that babies and children still grow into adulthood in the spirit realm? Do they not stay as infants?
Oh, now that's an interesting one for me. Right. I always think that children will continue to grow, but I don't think they grow into being an adult. I have to say that straight away, okay? Because I think what happens is we remain as we are, same as me. If I crossed over at this point in life now, I wouldn't come through a lot older than what I am, is the way that I'd refer to it. And same as children, So I think, yes, they continue to grow, but I don't want to say they grow into be an adult, because what would the adult form be? People are going to probably slate me for what I'm going to say next, but I do believe in things like reincarnation in a strange way. I think we've all been here thousands and thousands of times in a male form, female form, maybe even in an animal form, maybe even in an alien form. And I don't know that, but I do think that we get to a certain point and an essence of us, remember that ball of light that I keep talking to about that sits in my hand, which is the spirit that's passed. I think a little bit of that gets nicked off that ball and gets given and gone, there you go, you've got another life form now. And you come back down here. And I get really fascinated with people when they talk to me about past lives and proper past lives. I'm not just talking about people who go, oh, yeah, I was a Roman soldier. Okay. If people can describe things to that nth degree, okay, I think there's got to be more to life, or you've read a very good book and memorized it very well. So I think we all have experiences that we go through in this life that probably haven't been experienced in this life, if that makes sense, where we brought them with us almost, And again, when I've, bizarrely, people are going to think I've lost the plot now. When I've sat and chatted to the spirit world myself, very often they talk about learning the lesson. If you've learnt your lesson, it's your time to go back. But then you might come down wanting to learn another lesson in life, whatever that is, whether it be, I don't know, dying in a car accident. I'll call it something like that. Okay. Poor example, I know. But, if that's how the spirit world want you to learn something, then I believe that's what happens. I believe that we come back down here for a reason. Put it this way. If I thought that life was a matter of me living till I'm 97, let's hope, and then suddenly I die and fall off the end of the world, I'd think, well, what a bit of a shame that is. All that experience of life, what I've learned over years, and nothing's going to be done with it. Okay. So I hope somewhere that, I can come back and sit on somebody's bed very soon when I cross over and start singing Henry VIII or something for the next 48 hours just to piss them off. Because I would love to. I really would. And I always say this to people, there's got to be people out there who just think, oh, God, he's coming now. Okay. And I hope I'm still doing that when I'm over the other side.
I agree. Comment here from Mark Cooper. He says, here he is, Barry John, the sexy legend. Barry's a wonderful man. He's always been there for.
Oh, Mark, Sexy
Brilliant.
legend. I've never been. What's a sexy legend? Does that mean you're just sexy and old? Okay. Do you know?
Saying it.
I've known Mark for years. He's a fantastic guy. You know, he's done so much out there in the market, the industry. And, you know, isn't it strange how certain people we see time and time again, you know, and it's great that all these people have hung on. And, you know, I've been through some real tough crap with mediumship with people. You know, I've been slated, slaughtered.
Yeah.
Paranormal companies have had a go at me, you know, for lots of reasons. And I really don't give a damn anymore. I've got to that point in my life where I really don't care. And I think, you know, if you want somebody in your life, you want them in your life to be there for you. Okay. But, you know, we've all been through circumstances that have made us challenge our beliefs, that have made us challenge, are we on the right pathway? And that's nothing to do with mediumship. That's just life. Okay. Why is it that, you know, people can suddenly, you know, go through something so catastrophic, so heartbreaking, you know, catastrophic in their life, but yet they still find the will to carry on? And I think we're all like that. You know, I think we just have to realize that lessons are given to us, and it's what we do with them. You know, not everything's bad. You know, I'm an Aries, you know, I'm a bit broad shoulders. Yeah, I have a soft heart at times. But, you know, I'm one of them that has broad shoulders. You know, yeah, I do get upset when people slate me and slag me off because, you know, at the end of the day, I do what I do to try and help as many people as I can. If you don't like me and you don't believe in me, absolutely fine. Don't come to my shows. I have no problem with it.
I agree completely. Little question here from Annette. She says, do you think it's a learning curve for spirits to learn how to communicate, and in which way?
Not quite sure what you mean there, but we'll go with it. Okay. I think when we're over the other side, we know how to communicate. I think the difference is for us as individuals, all of us here and all people in the chat room, everybody down here, we have to learn to tune that little radio in our mind. Because when I talk to people about hearing spirit, they go, well, what, you hear them like a normal voice? And I go, no. That voice is in here. It's a bit like, it's like I'm having a daydream in a way. Okay. Yeah. And suddenly when I'm having that daydream, I get a little voice that suddenly appears that starts mumbling to me. And I go, what the hell do you want this time? You know, and remembering, you know, years ago, there was times where you'd probably be described as having a mental disorder of some kind. You know, people had just said, oh God, you're not all there. You know, you're hearing something that's not actually physically present. But again, going back to what we said, TV shows, etc., this has made it possible. So I think certainly the spirit world know how to communicate. And this is one of the conversations we have a lot when we sit for physical or trance. They know how to communicate. The difference is us as individuals, and I won't say mediums, but us as individuals just learn how to tune into it or almost adjust our minds to get into that wavelength. And I think that's what we're very naive and ignorant about at times.
I agree. We spoke about this before, Ben, about the fact of it's more the human nature more than the spirit nature that needs to be tuned more than anything else.
Yeah.
Another question from Kate, because she can ask the most amazing questions. This is brilliant. I love this one. She says, how can a spirit have consciousness without a physical body? What's your take on this? Is it simply memories from the living?
Oh, God, right. Okay. Well, I believe, as I said, my little ball of light, remember, in the palm of my hand, that's me. That'll be me in years to come, okay? So what we're looking at really is just a shell. You know, it holds my ball of light, okay? I need to be careful how I say that, don't I, really? But it holds my ball of light, okay? And I think when I pass over, it's irrelevant because this means nothing. You know, this isn't here at the end of the day. And the way that I'm going to take that message, Kate, or take that question from you, is that ball of light is what carries all those memories and those thought patterns, because they're what I tune into, and the mediums we all tune into, that give me that information back that I can go, right, okay, they're talking to me about a memory, they're talking to me about a story, they're talking to me about a family scenario. Because if I didn't have that two-way flow of communication, I wouldn't be able to pass on messages, okay? And that's why I don't believe that life just ends when we pass over, because as I say, where does that come from? I mean, people could go, oh, well, you're just making it up. But then if I was making it up, why would information be so precise? If I was just sat here now going, oh, I've got a lady in the spirit world, well, everybody could put their hand up and go, I've got a lady in the spirit world. But if I said, I've got a lady in the spirit world who's telling me her name's Jean Evans and that she was 57 when she died and she lived at 13 Beckett Lane, then, there's a little bit more information that's come through there. That's that whole storybook. And this is how I teach people, when you work with the spirit world, it's not just about looking at the front cover of a book. It's about opening it and going, well, what the hell's inside it? Okay. And this is where you need to get to. Now, over time, mediumship changes for people. It really does. We all go through circumstances, personal circumstances that knock it, and I've got to be very honest. 20 years ago, I stuck my fingers up to the spirit world and said, it's all a load of rubbish. I can't believe that this is all what I'm doing. And then they pulled me back and said, well, you're going to do it anyway. So I think sometimes, you just have to learn to accept. But I think definitely the memories are what remain. That's what we want them to retain, because I want my mum to come back one day and start reiterating silly stories of things that she did, because, I know what my mum was like, and you see, this is another thing now, what you've got me on now, because again, people talk to me about the spirit world and go, oh, well, when they go over the other side, does everybody change? No, they don't. If you're a miserable bastard when you're here, you're a miserable bastard over the other side, because you wouldn't be any different. Okay. You're exactly the same person over the other side. And again, I'll use a personal example on this. If somebody said to me, I've got your mum's dad and he's a really nice man, I'll go, no, you haven't got him then, because he wasn't. He was a horrible man and everybody hated him, simple as, even the family did. Him and my grandma used to hit each other on the head with frying pans. Now, if you told me that, I'd go, absolutely, you've got him spot on.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. But that's how people get confused, because they think of the spirit world. I hate these two words. Everybody thinks of the spirit world as a love and light. Okay. I have no idea what that means. I have no idea at all. I don't describe it as love and light. Every spirit who comes through doesn't always send you love. Some of them can't be bothered and probably think, what am I doing here anyway? Because you're not listening to me. But, I think we're very quick to hide behind what we think we should be saying, not what we should say, if that makes sense.
Agree. 100%.
I was actually just laughing at one of the questions a bit earlier, what somebody had put, and they put about all the aliens being in Nottingham city centre.
Yeah, that was Adam. That's a friend.
I loved it. I absolutely love that. I probably agree with that, Adam. I really do agree with it.
You sort of answered the question. We had a question from Sarah saying she's worried that doing her personality or individual self on the other side, but you sort of answered that at the same time. Now, this is a really cool question, I think, because obviously you stated, your stance on upstairs and downstairs. But Kate's asking, what happens to really bad people, in your opinion? People like mass murderers or serial killers?
Do you know, I love this one, right? I'm going to tell you a very quick story now, okay? And I am going to say this. I got involved with the Moors murders, doing quite a bit of investigation work up there. I went up onto the Moors and I thoroughly loved it. Great experience. I remember doing a ghost hunt. Now, I can't remember who it was with now, but it was with one of the companies, and we did a ghost hunt at Hyde Town Hall. And we were in the changing rooms. If anybody knows Hyde Town Hall, the changing rooms is underneath the stage. It's a real horrible environment. And we were doing the Ouija board. And the one name that kept coming out, and it spelt it quite specific, and I wasn't on the board, I have to say that, okay, was the name Myra, okay? Every time, Myra. Now, bearing in mind, there was a very strong link to Hyde Town Hall to the Moors murders, okay? Yes. And people forget this, but I knew that, but I wasn't on the board. I'm going to be very honest. I wasn't on the board. The next minute, a door behind us slammed and the glass smashed in the door. And I thought, this is time to cut the cord now on this one, because it's a bit too raw. And so, right, jump to that question. Right, what do I think happens? Well, I think probably, in my opinion, number one, they don't change. Okay, I don't think they come back all love and light. Certainly not. I think they still stay as that individual of being a murderer or whatever, a horrible word to put on it, but they do. I think they still stay as that. And I think if one of them was to try and communicate with me, yes, I would probably have a go at passing on a message. but I would probably also cut the cord in some strange way and go, well, actually, you're not welcome, because what could you possibly pass on that is almost going to be a sign of your retribution of your sins, of what you've done, your sorriness. How can you be sorry for what you've done? So I certainly don't think people change. I really don't. I think they stay exactly the same. And I think that probably ties in a little bit to my miserable granddad. Okay. I think if you like that down here, you're the same over the other side. So please don't expect everybody suddenly to come back all perfect and love and light. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I agree. Questions are going in. This one is a little bit more sensitive, but I think it's something that, because everyone's asking and saying it's a really good question. Have you ever spoken to children who are miscarried? I know it's sensitive, but it's something I would like to know. That's from Wondering Willow.
Absolutely, yeah. Children, again, whether you call them children or babies, children will come back and communicate. Now, the way that children tend to do it with me to start off with, depending on age, they normally come back via an adult link. So they'll come back with, like, I don't know, an adult that's passed over, and they'll bring the child in with them. And sometimes the adult will speak for the child for me, okay? But yeah, I know there's a child entity there. And it's purely for the fact, depending what age the child's passed over for me, I always think it's a little bit of that learning communication. But remember, we're talking of a ball of light again, okay? We're talking of somebody that's had an experience. They probably were going to touch the earth plane, but then suddenly they decided not to and go back. So yes, they will communicate. I think I have to be very sensitive about circumstances, okay? Because I always look at it in, if I'm giving a message to somebody, how will they feel if that message comes through? And I have to be very sensitive about that. I'm very blunt, bear in mind, when I do readings, but, I think you've got to look at it that I never want to leave somebody in a very bad situation of life or state of mind when they come to see me for a reading. The reason they come into me, I always look at it this way. People come to me for two reasons. They either come to me to help them grieve or to move on in life, or they come to me because they want to know if something going to happen to them, okay, whatever that is, whether you call that fortune telling or whatever. And sometimes with me, I get things like that. I read for a girl the other week who was moving house, told her she wouldn't get a first house, she'd get the second house. I told her the name of the road. Lo and behold, she texted me the other day and said, how the hell did you know that? And I said, no idea, but there you go. But, spirit will tell you what you need to know at that moment in time. They really will. So I think they will sometimes be very vague, but I'll always be very cautious about any message that I pass on, because whoever comes to see me as a client or whichever, I don't know their state of mind. And this is one of the issues that I have with people who go into groups that go into individuals' houses doing paranormal activity, because I've seen it too many times where people go into somebody's house and cause more upset than anything else, because there's certain things that we need to know before we investigate somebody's personal home. Is, have they been through anything quite traumatic? Are they seeking attention? Are they on forms of medication? And what is their mental health state like, or mind state like? And you can't pick that up just from looking at somebody. You have to do a little bit of almost clever questioning in a strange way to understand it. I remember there was a lady many years ago, Scottish lady, but nothing to do with that because I'm half Scottish. Scottish lady used to ring me up from Nottingham, funnily enough, probably an alien. And used to ring me up from Nottingham. It was always about 12 or 1 in the morning. And she always used to complain that a TV kept turning on and off. Every night I used to get a phone call and voicemail, my TV's going on and off again. Oh, well, probably because she pissed love, but there you go. That's a different story.
I just want to apologise if I haven't got to everyone's questions. There's a few there that I don't want to put up on subjects that we sort of don't want to get into. But Vonnie has a very cool question here, because she's asking, what can we do to prevent meeting the people we don't like in life when we go to the spirit world?
Oh, God, now this is a great one. The amount of times I've done a reading for people and I go, I've got your mum that don't want to talk to my mum. Oh, great. What do I do now then? Okay. And people do this to me. They'll go, no, don't want to talk to them. Don't want my dad. Don't want my mum. Okay. But, I can't stop them coming through. That's the thing. I think the only thing you can do is look at it like you do in this life and just go, you know what? I don't want to know you. Simple as, you know, I'm gone in another route, a different dimension. I certainly don't believe that as we go over the other side, we go, oh, it's all lovely, it's all wonderful. You know, all these great people. I think, you know, repeating what I said a few minutes ago, they're exactly the same over the other side as what they were in this life. So I think for me, I would say, you know, Von, you know, all you've got to say to them is, you know what, guys, I don't want to communicate. I don't want you there. Simple as. And I do that as a medium with people when I don't feel comfortable. I just close the door and go, not interested. Off you go. So time to bugger off. That's what I do.
Yeah. It's a matter of free will. You have the free will in life.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Sarah asks, how do you think spirits are able to move objects or pull cloth tops or tap you on the shoulder if they don't have a physical body on another dimension?
Well, this is an interesting one now because we're talking about something totally different now, you see. What we're talking about now is them having a form of presence. Now, you know, do they have a supersonic web that comes out the hand? I don't know, okay? We know when we work with physical or work with any form of heavy physical mediumship, what they do is they perform like, they produce an ectoplasm almost that comes from the medium. And actually, you could argue, is it the medium that's helping them in some sort of way move things, you know, or is it the spirit doing it themselves? Now, you know, there's lots of things that we could talk about. We could talk about table tipping. We've all seen it. I've seen some very good fake table tipping. I've seen some very good fake glass moving, you know, you name it over the years. And you can tell, you know, there's signs that we look for. But I think certainly if I was to answer that question now, I would say I think that's an element of the mediumship communication and the spirit communication that enables them to move things. And that's why I think when we do anything like paranormal events, ghost hunting, whatever Scooby doing, I think you should have somebody there that's, I'm going to refer to it as a sensitive, okay? Some people will argue with me and go, oh, you don't need that, you don't need that. But I think you do, because they generate things, you know. And I mean, I know we could have that classic discussion about orbs, you know. I mean, for God's sake, we've all seen a photo of orbs. But, you know, I know for me, if we sit in a physical mediumship condition, you see balls of light suddenly like exploding around the room, and then things start happening. Okay, it's almost spirit's way of like generating the energy in a room and going, right, come on, let's make something happen now. Okay, so I do think that we have to consider all sort of avenues with it. I think certainly we haven't got a physical body, so we can't go and touch something with a finger. But I think what we can do is we have a force. Okay, we have a force. Think of Star Wars. We all have a force that somewhere we can generate it to happen. Now, you could argue, when we do certain things, is that if I do something, is that my mind that's moving it? Is it something in here that's forcing something to move? Or is it a form of spirit communication that's taking place and they're doing something on our behalf? I don't know. Good question.
Psychokinesis or telekinesis. The power. Yeah, no, I agree with that. We're going to do one last question. This is from Jeanette. She says, I've been told many times when you come back to learn the lessons you didn't learn before, e.g. you never appreciated having money, so you're sent back and struggle financially. I think it's a load of cobblers, but what's your thoughts on that?
It's an interesting one, but I think we answered that earlier. I said to you, I think we come back to learn a lesson, okay? I like the example you put on there, Jeanette, by the way, a load of cobblers and about money. I'm crap with it, all right? But I think we do come back. But I think that's more of an emotional way rather than a physical presence of financial gain or something. I think it's about how we treat people and how people treat us. You know, we've all had circumstances where people have walked all over us and trodden over us and climbed over us. Ego's the biggest problem in this whole society that we work in, and especially in terms of mediumship and the paranormal. You know, but I think we just have to accept that there's probably something a lot greater out there that you and I will never, ever know until we cross over the other side. And I really hope when I get to the other side, they're not just shoving me back and going, for God's sake, we don't want you because you don't shut up. But, you know, I think there's certain things that we will never, ever know. But I think we do come back for reasons. I think it's nothing to do with financial gain or struggle or anything like that. I think a lot of that, and I have to say this very honestly, is an individual's choice in this life. Okay. If you want to make money, you can make money. If you want to go out there and get a job, you can get a job. Okay. I think that's something very, very different to what we talk about as a lesson in life.
Yeah.
All right. Great name, by the way, Jeanette. My mum's name. There you go.
I'm sorry I laughed when you were talking there. This comment popped up and I thought it was amazing. Eric Thompson says, I'm changing the term of paranormal to be doing from now on.
Damn it. It's great. I love it. Do you know, I was saying to these guys earlier when we first were talking before we come on, it was Scooby-Doo that got me into it. And when I realised that, you know, ghosts didn't walk around in masks, I was really disappointed. And we didn't look like Daphne or Thelma.
Yeah, no, I agree with that one. Just one more quick question. Does Barry still do one-to-one readings online? I'm absolutely loving this line. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Yeah. You know, before I come on here, I've just done a phone reading. I always say to people, you know, most of my readings now are via either phone, because I very rarely see people face to face. Nothing really wrong with it, but I'll be very honest why. During the COVID period, I enjoyed having my home back to myself rather than having people traipsing through my front door. You know, so I enjoy having my home to myself. I still do readings online, not so much on Facebook because I just don't get the time. I mean, you know, people that know me know that I have other companies that I'm involved with. You know, we're just building some houses. I'm involved in well-being companies, mind, body and spirit companies. I've got 2 companies myself. I really struggle for time, but trust me, I'll try and do it best I can and fit people in if anybody wants to read them. Same as shows, still do shows and demonstrations as well, but we are cutting them down.
Yeah, can I just say, like, we have this thing here when we have a guest on the show, we put them on, if they're really, really good, we put them on something called the TOD Mount Rushmore.
Okay.
And definitely 100%, I think Ben and Lou will agree with me here. Barry is definitely up there for the top guest on the show so far.
Yeah. You'd tell me anything. No. When I've got you'll trash me. I know.
No, we're 100% honest on the show, and I've literally, Ben will tell you, I'm normally the guy who just sits there and talks over people and constantly talking over people. I've just sat there and listened. I've just been so intrigued from the beginning to the end. It's been absolutely amazing.
Do you know, I've done this for way too long, and I'm talking about the whole thing, you know, and I don't do love and light. I don't do bullshit with it. I think at the end of the day, you know, I will give you my opinion. Whether you choose to accept that my opinion, that's your choice. I have no problem with that. And, you know, do I think that we probably all should get on better in society? Probably, yeah. Whether that'll ever happen, we probably will never do it, okay? Even within our own families, we don't get on, let's be honest. You know, but I think certainly the biggest problem nowadays, and I see this more and more in the whole metaphysical world, let's refer to it as that, where there is so many egos now, and people see this as a way to make money, okay? And that was the problem with COVID for me, is suddenly everybody's doing paranormal events. You know, they're trying to do them all online. They're trying to charge people tickets to go, you know, you name it. And I just thought it lost the whole ethos of what we all do believe in. Don't get me wrong, I'm happy to pay for any paranormal event, etc. And again, I will always support paranormal companies, because people forget how much some of these venues actually charge nowadays. You know, I remember certain venues years ago, I could have probably got for 250 quid. Okay. Yeah. But now you're probably talking 1,500. The most expensive place, I did a program with the Yorkshire Evening Post, and it was called Haunted Leeds. One of the most expensive places I've ever been to was Temple Newsome in Leeds. And that was £2,500 a night. And you got some at like 3 rooms.
What? I mean, me and Ben and Lou, we can vouch for how much venues have gone up. I started when I was 18. I started my own team when I was 19. And we was paying something like £400 for Kelvin and Hatch down here. And now just to hire it and the night deposit on its own is £1,000. So I can definitely vouch. Ben, you and Lou have been to places where it's extortionate amounts of money nowadays, isn't it?
It's phenomenal. Do you know, the days sort of like what the late 90s, early 90s, early 2000 period. I remember people used to charge £99 a head to do a ghost hunt if you went on a ghost hunt, which was a lot of money if you were a couple. That were £200.
Yeah.
But at that time, they were making very good money because those venues were probably no more than 300 or 400 quid.
Yeah. Yeah.
So people really made the money out of it. And, you know, again, I'll repeat what I said at the beginning. This was all due to certain paranormal programs that got that real interest into the market. And as much as we all slate them, they really got that interest in the market.
Yeah. I mean, I agree 100%. I mean, what a fantastic show we've had tonight. Ben, Lou, have you got any questions for Barry before we finish?
Well, we need to do another show.
Yeah, obviously we need to get back on at some point.
Back for another one.
Yeah, just don't get me cooking or anything. You'll be all right.
Yeah,
we
between
can do-
you and Ben, why not?
No, you're welcome, guys. Anytime. I'm more than happy to come on and have a waffle. You know, I'm you know, me and Ben's had this discussion. You know, what you see is what you get with me. If I think it's a load of rubbish, I'll tell you, simple as. And that's why I do have issues with certain programs nowadays, because I think everything has to be about demonics and demons and the dark side.
Yeah, I agree. It's what did we say, Ben? It's hashtag demons. It's trending.
And yeah, you know, if you went back, I can't remember now, but if you went back probably 10, 15 years ago, there'd be very little.
Yeah, I agree.
Everyone's a demonologist now.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, and you know, amazing. Most of them have never even done anything to get that qualification.
No, they don't realise how much time it takes, how much studying and reading, and how much time you take out of your personal life to learn the things you have to learn. And
I'll state again on here, to get an actual, like the actual qualification, costs you round about 50 grand.
Yes.
Not 20 quid off the internet.
You know, I love it on Facebook. Every so often on Facebook, you get one of these adverts, don't you, where you can get your certificate, and people must sign up to these because you see them all signing up. And I just think, what a waste of money! What a waste of money!
Yeah, 100%. Right, so we'll come to the end of the show. Fantastic show. If we didn't get to your question, guys, we're going to get Barry on again, and you can re-ask them. There were some sort of volatile questions there that I didn't want to put up, but you know, it is what it is. Don't forget, guys, Sunday's show. You've got the Occult History and Science show with Ben and Lou. You guys are on a Sunday, and we're going back to the book, are we?
I don't know.
I haven't decided yet. We will figure something out. It's either back to the Cultology Science book, or it may be something else. I'm not sure.
Well, look forward to that. And don't forget, we've got the second show for the Witch's Closet, which will be on Wednesday at 7:30. If you want to join in, she's creating there are protection jars, I think. Yeah, there's a shopping list on our page. Go and purchase it. You can get all your bits off Amazon or Wilco's or wherever you guys shop. If you want to join in with Scarlet Witch making your own protection jars, then that'll be live at 7:30 on Wednesday. And then we're back next Friday. So I just want to say before we go, thank you once again, Barry, for coming on. It's been absolutely fascinating. I've never been so quiet in all my life.
It's been great.
Told you I talk.
Yeah, we look forward to having them again.
Yeah.
Ask these guys. They know what I've done. They see me at Newstead all the time.
Yeah. We'll get a link set up as well for Barry's readings if anyone's interested in getting in contact with him to organise something.
Yes. Yeah. Well, Lou's going to go and post all the links on the page after the show.
Okay. Yes, boss.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
You come to the end of the show. Once again, thank you for Barry coming on. Don't forget to keep it locked to the Other Dimension Network. So much coming up. It's bye from me. It's bye from Barry. And it's bye the Paranormal Power couple, Ben and Lou.
Bye.
And just remember, if there's no other explanation, there's always the Other Dimension. Enjoy your weekend.